Have you ever wondered where betrayal truly begins? Not in the obvious places, not in the heat of an argument, not in the arms of a stranger, but in the quiet, unseen corners of the human psyche, the places no one suspects, the shadows we refuse to illuminate. What if infidelity is not an act, but a culmination? A slow unraveling that starts long before the body strays in the silent fractures of the mind, the heart, the soul. Consider this: the first betrayal is never physical. It begins with a thought, a fleeting curiosity, a whispered what if that lingers like a ghost in the corridors of your consciousness. And then another and another, until the mind, once a fortress, becomes a sieve, leaking fantasies of escape, of reinvention, of a life unshackled from the weight of vows. But who suspects a thought? Who accuses a daydream? Yet here, in the uncharted territory of the imagination, the first seed is planted. Why do we assume infidelity is a sudden catastrophe, a bolt from the blue, when it is more often a slow erosion? A series of micro-betrayals, of attention, of presence, of truth, that go unnoticed until the dam breaks. The partner who stops listening, not out of malice, but because they've already left in their mind. The shared silence that was once comfort and is now a chasm. The jokes that are no longer funny, the touch that no longer ignites, the future that is no longer dreamed in unison. These are the fractures where betrayal seeps in unnoticed, like water, into stone. And what of the second place, the betrayal of self? The lies we tell ourselves to justify the hunger for something more, something else. I deserve this. They don't understand me. Just this once. These are not justifications. They are rituals of self-deception, ceremonies where we sacrifice our integrity on the altar of desire. Who suspects the enemy within? The one who looks back at us in the mirror, who whispers sweet poison into our own ears, who convinces us that the fault lies not in our choices, but in the world's inability to fulfill us. Then there is the third place, the betrayal of time, the moment stolen not from a partner, but from the life you built together, the lunches that run long, the texts sent in secret, the memories rewritten to accommodate a new narrative. Time is the currency of love, and every second diverted is a theft, not of hours, but of trust, of history, of the invisible threads that bind two people into one story. Who notices the missing pieces until the entire mosaic crumbles? The fourth place is the most insidious, the betrayal of language, the words that once meant forever, now heavy with irony, the I love yous spoken out of habit, not conviction, the way we weaponize silence, using absence as punishment, or worse, as liberation. Language is the bridge between souls, and when it becomes a tool for manipulation, for half-truths, for coded messages, the bridge becomes a battleground. Who hears the unspoken words, the ones that scream in the gaps between sentences, the ones that say, I am already gone? And finally, the fifth place, the betrayal of the unseen, the future that will never be, the memories that will never form, the love that could have grown but was strangled in its infancy. Infidelity is not just about what was done, it's about what was undone, the parallel life that exists only in the realm of loss, the ghost of the person you could have been, the partner you could have loved, the trust that could have endured. Who mourns what never was? But before we continue, this type of video takes time and effort. If you enjoyed the content and want to support me, you can do so through Super Thanks. Thank you to everyone who appreciates the effort. Let's complete the journey together. Now, let me ask you this. If betrayal begins in these hidden places, can it also be stopped there? Can we catch the thought before it becomes action, the silence before it becomes distance, the longing before it becomes a wound? Or are we doomed to repeat the same cycles, convinced that the danger lies outside us when it has always been within? Consider the weight of a single unspoken truth. The way it festers, mutates, becomes a shadow self that grows stronger in the dark. What if the antidote to infidelity is not vigilance, but vulnerability? Not suspicion, but the courage to name the unspeakable, to drag the hidden things into the light before they poison everything. And what of those who have been betrayed? Is their pain merely about the act itself, or the realization that the person they loved was already gone, long before the final blow, that the betrayal was not a moment, but a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to a door they never saw closing? The human heart is not a monolith. It is a labyrinth, and somewhere in its winding passages, the choice is made, to stay or to stray, to honor or to hunger, to build or to burn. But here's the question that haunts. If we understood where infidelity truly begins, would we still walk blindly into its arms? Or would we finally see that the first betrayal is never to another? It is always to ourselves? If this resonates with you, if you feel the weight of these words, remember to like and subscribe. There is so much more to uncover, so many layers left to peel back. Because the story of betrayal is not just about endings, it's about beginnings, the ones we see and the ones we don't. So tell me, where does your loyalty truly lie? With the person you promised to love, or with the parts of yourself you've buried to keep the peace? And which betrayal cuts deeper? The one you commit, or the one you silently endure? The answers may surprise you. The truth about infidelity is that it is never just about sex. It is about power. It is about absence. It is about the parts of ourselves we have disowned, the hungers we refuse to name, the voids we pretend do not exist. And the moment we stop looking at betrayal as a moral failing and start seeing it as a psychological symptom, everything changes. Think of the last time you felt truly seen, not just noticed, not just desired, but witnessed. Your fears, your contradictions, the unspoken parts of you that even you hesitate to touch. Now ask yourself, when was the last time your partner looked at you that way? Or when was the last time you looked at them that way? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Infidelity often begins not in the arms of another, but in the space between two people who have stopped seeing each other. The gaze that once sought understanding now skims the surface. The conversations that once unraveled mysteries now stick to logistics. The silence that was once intimate now hums with something unsaid. Who notices the exact moment when we became you and I? And what are the stories we tell ourselves? The narratives we construct to justify the hunger, the distraction, the slow drift toward someone else. They don't appreciate me. I've outgrown them. This is just who I am now. These are not truths. They are alibis, self-deception dressed up as self-discovery. The most dangerous lies are the ones we believe, the ones that let us paint ourselves as the hero of our own betrayal. Who is the real victim here? The partner who was left, or the version of yourself you abandoned along the way? Then there is the question of why. Not why someone strays, but why we are so afraid to face the answer? Is it because we know deep down that infidelity is not an accident? That it is a choice, 1,000 tiny choices, a series of doors left unlocked until the final one swings open? And what does it say about us if we admit that betrayal is not a force of nature, but a decision? That it is not something that happens to a relationship, but something that reveals it? Perhaps the most painful part is this: infidelity does not destroy what was whole. It exposes what was already broken. The cracks in the foundation, the love that became routine, the passion that cooled into obligation. And in that exposure, there is a terrible clarity. The realization that the betrayal was not the end, but a symptom of a far older grief. The grief of two people who stopped choosing each other long before someone else entered the picture. So, where does that leave us? With the hardest question of all: can a relationship survive the truth? Not just the truth of an affair, but the truth of what led there. The unmet needs, the unspoken resentments, the slow erosion of something that once felt eternal. And if it can survive, what does that survival cost? The death of an illusion, the birth of a new kind of love, one that is not innocent, but knowing. This is the crossroads where so many turn away. It is easier to blame, to vilify, to paint betrayal as the ultimate sin than to face the murkier reality. That love is not a fixed state, but a series of decisions. That fidelity is not the absence of temptation, but the presence of something stronger. And that trust, once broken, does not simply return. It is rebuilt, brick by painful brick, in the full light of what was lost. But here is what they don't tell you. The opposite of betrayal is not blind loyalty. It is awareness. The willingness to see the relationship as it is, not as you wish it to be. To ask the dangerous questions before they fester into actions. To recognize that love is not a contract, but a living thing. One that requires attention, honesty, and the courage to face the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. So I ask you now, what is your relationship's unspoken truth? What hunger have you refused to name? And if you were to face it, really face it, would you still recognize the person staring back at you?